Welcome back, subscribers. On this edition of Texas Precision Shooter, we're going to talk about rifle data books and why you need to have one as a hard copy versus a digital device. Digital devices offer a lot as far as data books go. There's a handful of them out there that offer all the same thing that you can do with a paper copy, but having a paper copy as a backup is always a good idea. On this edition about data books, I'm going to show you what I have in my data book, how I use it, what it's good for me, and what you need to look for in either putting together your own data book or buying one from one of the retailers. So first of all, I started with a Right in the Rain cover. I found this one online for pretty cheap. It's not my preferred camo pattern, but it was cheap and it works. It's also waterproof. I recommend getting some waterproof silicone spray and spraying on your book. I think I put a couple of coats on here. Just in case I'm out in the weather, it's not going to ruin my data. So let's go through this book and I'll show you what I have in my book. So on the first page I have an informational page. It tells about me, my name and address, what the rifle system is. And this book should stay with your rifle. It should be in your range bag everywhere your rifle goes. On the second page I have a mils to inches. Now this is going to show you for every click of your milliradian scope how far you're going to move your point of impact for every 100 yards out to 1,000 yards. I'm going to have a video later explaining mils and minutes of angle and the differences between the two and some further episodes, so make sure to stay tuned for that. On the next page I have a 1/10 mils to yards. This goes for ranging targets. If you know your target size and you know how much of your target spans on your scope, you can use this graph to calculate how far away your target is. Not that we would use that because we have rangefinders these days, but as a backup in the field, this is a great tool to have. On the next page, I have angle fire sheet. This is important if you're doing high angle shots, either high up or high down. I'll use with a good cosine indicator. This will give you your true range. So if you use a rangefinder, if it doesn't have an angle compensator in it, it's going to give you a certain distance. With this chart and using a good cosine cosine indicator from like Badger Ordnance, this will give you your true range. Very important if you're going to make angle shots. The next page is a slope dope page. This, as well as used with a good cosine indicator, will give you your true range. So you're just going to find the range of your target that you use with your rangefinder versus your cosine indicator number from the angle that you're shooting at will give you your true range. Good thing to have. The next page is a density altitude table. Now, most of your weather meters and stuff like that we use these days, I know the one I have, will give me a density altitude. But with this chart that I downloaded online, it's kind of like a slide rule. You know, you select your temperature and your station pressure, and you can figure out what your density altitude is from there. The next page I have is a barrel log. It's real important to keep track of how many rounds are on your barrel, especially if you're going to go sell it. You have some kind of proof in the pudding of how many rounds you put through it, but as well as an indicator if you start losing group size, that this will kind of show you where that's at in your particular barrel that you chose. The next page I actually have a bunch of these pages. This is density altitude charts. So if I'm going out and I'm shooting on a 4,000 density altitude day, I can make a chart what my ballistics were that day. So if I go out another day and it's the same density altitude, I'll have a reference. So I normally do like 4 of these. Every time I go out to the range, if it's 1,000 or off density altitude, I'll make a card for it. So I normally start at like 2,000 or 3,000 and work up. Not that I'll ever have a 5,000 day, but it could happen. So moving on to the next ones, let's see, I got 4 of these. The next one is a come-ups page. This is come-ups from 0. So essentially a dope page. So from 100 out to 1050 on this one that I have here, I can write from 0 how many mils I need to come up in my scope. I have 2 of these for 2 different rifles. Haven't filled them out yet, as I just made this book about 3 weeks ago. The next one I have is a ballistics chart. Now this ballistics chart goes from 0 out to 1,000, and it's straight up ballistics. Wind for a full value wind, your drop in inches, your time of flight. It's really good to have a page like this that has all of the information for your data. And you're also going to want to annotate that with what density altitude that you calculated this for. The next one is unknown target multiple multiple target sheets. I have 4 of these as well. These sheets are really good if you're going to do a competition and you have a bunch of different targets out there. You can kind of draw them out as a reference to where you're shooting from, annotate how many mils you need to come up for each one, and it's a really good way to see a course of fire on paper. I have a handful of these in here, and when I do competitions I use these. It's kind of give me a reference and help me remember what my course of fire is going to be. Or if you're out in the field and you know your hunting stand is right here, and over here there's this tree that's 800 yards, and over here there's this big boulder that's like 400 yards. You can kind of draw that out, so next time you go out there, you'll remember some markers and distances. So in case you see a big game over there by that boulder, you won't have to range it. You'll know right where it's at. On the back page I have a little ruler. It kind of came with the book. It's a good thing to have. And this Right in the Rain book is a good one to have, and it has a field planner in the back. So if you want to make notes about your day or your range trips, you can do that. Thanks for watching my video on rifle data books. I really appreciate the followers and subscribers that I'm getting. Y'all stay tuned for future videos, and be looking for the mils and minutes video that I'm going to do here in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you at the range.